Good morning and welcome. So good to see all of your faces. Very happy to be together today. And good morning to everyone who's tuning in. We're very grateful that you are taking the time to settle and hear the Dharma and breathe it in. So, very important. We like to welcome you and just share this special time together. We will begin with the 3 homages, and Reverend Matthew and I are chanting aloud now, and we welcome you to chant with your mask on if you feel comfortable doing that, or just listen and feel it coming through your body. Just whatever you feel your comfort level is fine. And then our Shoshinge chant is after the 3 homages, and we just want to honor our founder, Shinran Shonin, and he wrote this beautiful long poem over 800 years ago, and he's still with us, guiding our lives and sharing what's most important with us, taking refuge and entrusting in the infinite wisdom and compassion. Shinran wanted us to know that our life is more than just a simple journey from cradle to grave, and that we are responsible for going forward on this path towards realizing reality as it really is. Also, we will be offering incense during our Shoshinge chanting, and we will go row by row in more of a calm meditative way, and offering incense in gratitude to Amida Buddha, or a dear teacher, or the infinite wisdom and compassion. So it's just a small gift in gratitude. That's our practice. There are 2 other altars on our Naijin. So the one on that side of the room is for Kannon Bodhisattva, Bodhisattva of compassion. And she hears your cries, she hears your troubles. She helps you with a dear one who is transitioning, or one who's already passed and you want to honor them. And there's a note paper there that you can write their names on for just an extra recognition and respect for them. And on this side of the Hondo is our Medicine Buddha altar, and if you need a little extra healing from any physical, emotional, spiritual, anything that troubles you, please go to the Medicine Buddha and feel that healing energy. Yes, Reverend Matthew?
What about dermatological?
Absolutely. Dermatological healing is definitely within the scope of the Medicine Buddha healing energies. Yes.
I just wanted to get that over with.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Reverend Matthew has a boo-boo on his forehead. Okay. So, we welcome you to honor these altars and just feel the compassion and the healing that your energy is focused on. That's just taking the time to focus your energies there. And for those of you at home, please offer incense or food or water or your good energy to your own home altars and chant your hearts out. It's all good. It's all beneficial, not only to yourself, but your good energy goes out to affect everyone. Everyone. So, thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to hearing more about who is this Seishi Bodhisattva. I can't believe we've been here for so long, and we've never done a Dharma talk on Seishi Bodhisattva. So this will be a good one. Right, thank you. The three homages. Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhas, Namo Buddhas, Namo Buddhas. Shoshinge Kimyo Muryo Junyorai Namu Fukashigi Ko Hozobo Sain Niji Zai Seiji Zai Obusho Token Shobu Jodoin Kokudo Ningen Shizen Maku Konryu Mujo Shushogan Choho Keiu Daiguze Goko Shiyui Shishoju Jusei Myosho Monjipo Fuho Muryo Muhenko Muge Mutai Koen no Shoujo Kangi Chieko Fudan Nanshi Mushoko Chonichi ga Kosho Jinsei Isai Gunjo Mukosho Hongam Yogo Shoujo Go Shishin Shingyo Ganni Joto Gakusho Dai Nehan Hishi Metno Ganjoju Nyorai Shoi Koshusei Yui Se Mida Hongon Kai Gojoku Akuji Gunjo Kai Oshin Nyorai Ryo Jitengon Noho Ichinen Kiai Shin Fudan Bon no Tokune Han Bonsho Gyaku Hosai Enyu Yoshu Shinyu Kai Ichimi Seishu Shin Kojo Shogo Ino Suiha Mumyo An Tonnai Shinzo Shi Unmu Jofu Shinji Shinjin Ten Hinyo Niko Fu Unmu Unmu Shige Myomu An Gyakushin Kenkyo Dai Kyoki Soku o Chose Go Wakushu Isai Zen Maku Bon Bunin Monshin Yorai Guzegon Butengon Kodai Shogeisha Zeini Myo Fundarike Midabu Hongannen Jaken Kyoma Nakushujo Shingyo Juji Jinni Nan Shushinan Mukashi Indo Saiten Shironge Shukajichi Iki Shikoso Kendai Shoko Se Shoi Myonyorai Honze Oki Shaka Nyorai Yoga Sen Ishu Gomyo Nantenjiku 龍樹大寺出頭聖出の在派有無権先世大乗無情法召喚議事小安楽賢治難行六六信行異行指導楽億年未打部本願次年即時入上唯の上昇如来語王法大悲偶然音天神菩薩増論世奇妙無下根如来永寿たら謙信寺高専王朝大聖願高有本願力栄光異道群上小維新記入功徳大崩壊筆脈入大永寿宗特使蓮華造世界即小信用法小信有言の人間人図入賞自音自王芸本自動乱両天使上皇乱小菩薩来三蔵ルシ十条教恩賞専業気楽法天神菩薩論中芸報道因果見世願方言栄光有他力少女心唯心人惑前本部新人法承知承持即涅槃意志無量根陽道小宇宙上回復系同社継承道南省唯名浄土活入万全自力変論中円満特合感染症三部三神慶音言増魔法明道非因異生増惑地偶税思安妖怪称名化全道独名部所意公愛上三女逆惑公明明語権二年開入本願大智慧行者小樹金剛心狂気一年総合用意大東逆三人即小法小四上楽現心公開一大教変気安養官二祭先祖出身反戦人法慶二道小弁流極十悪人類小部下薬剤非正集中煩悩証言追不見大悲無見上昇が本次元空妙仏教連民全幕本部人新宗教書後編集戦弱本願具学生現来生じ臨伝芸慶地義上位小子即入弱上無意楽一心地に納入不教大自主使徒上祭無変独辱枠同族自主具道心唯過心し高祖聖ナムアミダハブナムアミダハブナムアミダアムナムアミダブナ 丈夫のこの方は今に自己をたまえりほしのこうりやぬきわもなくせのもみょうを照らすなり。ナムアミダハンブナムアミダハンブナムアミダブナアミダムナムアアミダムナムアアミダブナムアアミダブナムアアミダブナムゲラの降臨きわもなしこうそくかむるものはみなうむを離ると述べたもおう平等確に奇妙せよ栄光願にし功徳平等聖祭同母大神お嬢はあんらこナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマ
the Buddha walk with you. Let the Buddha walk with you. Let the Buddha walk, just walk. Let the Buddha walk with you. Let the Buddha walk with you. Let the Buddha walk with you. Let the Buddha walk, just walk. Let the Buddha walk with you. The bees are working in, oh, sorry.
Good morning. The Enlightenment of Mahastama Bodhisattva from the Surangama Sutra. Thus I have heard, at one time during a teaching at the Jeta Grove, various arhats and bodhisattvas spoke on the perfect dharma of attaining unsurpassed enlightenment. The Dharma Prince, Bodhisattva Mahastama Prapta, and his peers, 52 bodhisattvas, came from their seats and bowed with their heads at the feet of Shakyamuni Buddha, in each in turn offering their experience of reaching enlightenment. Mahastama Prapta said to the Buddha, I remember that, in numberless kalpas past, a Buddha appeared in the world whose name was Amida. He was one of 12 Buddhas succeeding through that kalpa. Infinite light Buddha, boundless light Buddha, irresistible light Buddha, unparalleled light Buddha, flaming Raja light Buddha, pure light Buddha, joyous light Buddha, wisdom light Buddha, continuous light Buddha, indescribable light Buddha, inexpressible light Buddha, and the last Buddha was called light surpassing sun moon Buddha. He taught me the samadhi of mindfulness of the Buddha, the Nembutsu. He taught me the ways to attain enlightenment through mindfulness, such as chanting the Buddha's name, contemplating the Buddha image while chanting the name, visualizing a Buddha in my mind and chanting the name, and deep hearing of the light, where we see Buddha in all reality. Of all these friends, chanting Buddha's name, especially the name of Amida, is the easiest and best way to start. It affected me thus. For instance, as when there are two people, one always thinking of the other, but the other has already forgotten his counterpart. These two people would have no meeting even if they encountered one another. They would have no recognition of when one saw the other. But if both of them thought of each other and missed one another deeply, they would have been inseparable from life to life, like a person and his shadow. This is the connection to Amida that the Nembutsu brought me. All Buddhas in the 10 directions feel compassion for all sentient beings, just like a mother feels for an only child. If the children run and hide away, the mother's concern would be futile. But if the child misses the mother, and the mother also thinks of the child, they will never be far apart, no matter how many successive lives have passed. In the Nembutsu, if all sentient beings always remember the Buddha and are mindful of the Buddha, they will certainly be able to see the Buddha in this life or the near future. They will not be far from the Buddha. People's minds become Buddha, and the Buddha adorns people's minds. They will reach complete enlightenment naturally without any other expedient means, just as I did. Just like the maker of perfume spontaneously and naturally has a fragrant body, this is so called the aromatic light, alma karaka, the light of transformation. The Buddha asked, what is the best method of applying the Dharma? Mahastama Prapta said, in practicing Dharma teachings leading toward Buddhahood, it is best to concentrate on the Nimbutsu, mindfulness, of the Buddha and thus attain the calm and joyful patience of immortality. By this practice, I am no longer subject to birth and death, transmigration or rebirth, residing in the condition of the Absolute. I am currently in this world, helping all people who practice the mindfulness of the Buddha to bring them to the Pure Land. If asked how to attain complete understanding of reality how it isness or enlightenment, I say we have no other option but to harness our ears, eyes, nose, body, and mind, and concentrate in the pure mind of the Buddha in the Buddha's name. Namu Amida Butsu. Only when residing in mindfulness of the Buddha, such as chanting Buddha's name, can people focus their mind without being distracted by outside pollutants. Saying the Nimbutsu continuously will eventually bring us to samadhi. This was my first and foremost choice of discipline. This brought me to be a bodhisattva. We will now have a few moments of meditation accompanied by peaceful music.
Welcome again, friends. I went to the Medicine Buddha altar because as I was meditating there, and toward the end, I felt a warm, concerned feeling for our friends in Bodh Gaya who had been doing really, really well pandemic-wise, but now things are looking a little frightening there, so I wanted to send some extra healing energy in their direction. So it's always comforting to be here together, kind of experiencing the warm and then the chilly days of spring, which is always interesting. The mountain threatens to sprinkle on us, but it never really seems to. It does, but not that often. It's just so pleasant to see things blooming. So, some people here are new to our temple. If you are, please take your time. Things will be intriguing, but also puzzling. Kind of let that be. We have a newcomer circle after the service. You can come and ask questions. That's a good, important thing to do. If you're a long-time member, then it's good to dig back in and think about, reflect on what you've internalized, what you've learned. We have a Shin Buddhism class coming up next Saturday for successive Saturdays after that. That's a good way to do that. So this Buddha here is Amida Buddha. And we talk about Amida often. As a matter of fact, Seishi Bodhisattva just talked about Amida Buddha in his description of his enlightenment experience. If you notice in this triptych above the doorway, Seishi is at Amida Buddha's right hand. I remember we went to Zenkoji Temple in Nagano, where they had the Olympics a long time ago. And there, that is the place that has the oldest Amida Buddha statue in Japan. It was brought from India to Japan in the 6th century. And I never know if the 6th century is 500 something or other of the Common Era or 700 something of the Common Era. I know it's not 600 something or other, but somebody will come to me afterwards and explain that to me. Point being that the oldest Amida Buddha statue in Japan looks just kind of like that. Amida in the center, and then Kannon and Seishi Bodhisattvas on either side. Kannon Bodhisattva is the Bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, the one who hears our cries. And we talk about Kannon a lot, maybe because compassion and crying are things we do. But we'd seldom talk about Seishi Bodhisattva. We'll say, oh, that's Bodhisattva of wisdom, and then kind of leave it at that. But today, I would like to formally ask the question, who is Seishi Bodhisattva? So, starting with Seishi's name, Mahastama Pratpa, which is a bit of a tongue twister. That Pratpa really gets me at the end. The name is rendered something like one who obtained great power from wisdom. Literally, it's actually the arrival of great strength like an elephant, or forging forward with great strength. You can imagine an elephant forging forward with great strength. Bodhisattva, after that. We can say Seishi is the power of wisdom. That's more accurate than saying Bodhisattva of wisdom, because we know Manjushri is the Bodhisattva of wisdom. So, the power of the Buddha's wisdom. Maybe even that's a kind of willpower, I think. Oh, but wait, I have to go back. A Bodhisattva. What's that? A Bodhisattva is a regular person who makes a vow to become a Buddha. And these vows have a special catch to them. The Bodhisattva vows to remain and help in the difficult realm of samsara until all other beings are enlightened. This is a heroic vow because it will result in many extra lifetimes of suffering, just for the sake of others. In the Shurangana Sutra reading, these beings gathered together there in the Jeta Grove to tell their enlightenment stories. So there are many, many bodhisattvas. There's sort of the big 8, of which I am pretty familiar with 5 and almost can't pronounce the 8th, but we'll go through them just to think about it. Kanon here embodies Buddha's compassion. Seishi embodies Buddha's power of wisdom. Manjushri embodies the Buddha's wisdom. Siddhigarbha embodies the Buddha's merit or richness shared. Maitreya embodies the Buddha's loving kindness energy. Samantabhadra embodies the aspirations of the Buddha's prayers and offerings. Now we get into the harder part for me to pronounce. Sarvani Varana Vishkambin embodies the Buddha's qualities and therefore purifies. And Ashkagarbha embodies the Buddha's blessing and purifies negativities. Those are sort of the big 8 bodhisattvas. So in some ways, a bodhisattva is not quite a Buddha by choice. They are accessible and available here to us, to aid sentient beings. That is their vow. Well, Buddhas are gate gate, paragate, parasamgate, gone, gone, gone beyond, gone far beyond. So, somewhat less accessible. While Kanon hears our cries, Seishi Bodhisattva awakens in us our need to be liberated from samsara. Like in the Matrix movie. I would say it's a new movie, but as I look at my son, he's shaking his head, saying, no, 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 Papa, that's an old movie. Remember the scene where Morpheus offers Neo the red pill and the blue pill? Okay, classic scene. The blue pill represents staying here in delusion, and the red pill represents seeing reality as it is. Seishi, I'll get this back to the Dharmatak, I'm clawing my way back to the Dharmatak here. Seishi is the one that, the voice in your head that says, go for the red pill. Do it. Open yourself to what is really here, not just the stories that you spin in your mind. He energizes us to do that. He brings to humanity the power of Amida's wisdom. He brings us the willpower to follow the great natural way. In the reading from the Shurangana Sutra, that's the Sutra of Heroic Progress, because each bodhisattva describes their progress process toward enlightenment. Seishi tells us how he gained enlightenment through the practice of the Nembutsu. Continuous pure mindfulness of Amida. He reaches samadhi this way. It is important to hear him say this, so I'll kind of repeat. Only when residing in mindfulness of the Buddhas, such as chanting the Buddha's name, can people focus their mind without being distracted by life. Saying the Nembutsu continuously will eventually bring us to peaceful awareness. This was my first and foremost choice of discipline. This brought me to be a bodhisattva. It's kind of a testimonial to the Nembutsu. He used this method and he recommends it to all of us. Lots of mindfulness practices are hard. And they take patience and time and a kind of concentration that regular life does not cultivate in us. But Seishi recommends the Nembutsu of gratitude, residing in gratitude this way. It can bring us energy and focus and clarity. In the time of the Buddha, Seishi was around then too. According to some legends, he accompanied the Buddha in different times in his lifetime, he's mentioned. He witnessed Gautama's birth in Lumbini Garden, had a hand in Prince Gautama's great renunciation. That's when Prince Gautama escaped the palace in the middle of the night after the big blowout, drunken debauchery party thing celebrating the birth of his son. So it was an odd time to leave, but maybe all that celebration made him realize that he couldn't be there anymore. That energy of motivation, that will, the energy released from Gautama's wisdom that occurred in that moment is Seishi's presence. He was also present at many of the Buddha's Dharma talks, which became what we call sutras. Shakyamuni Buddha directly speaks to Seishi in different sutras, but in particular, chapter 20 of the Lotus Sutra is a dialogue between the Buddha and Seishi. He tells him of the Buddha's past life. The Buddha tells Seishi of a past life where he was a bodhisattva called Sada Paributta, or never despising bodhisattva, who was abused and reviled by arrogant people. Monks and nuns and lay people all gave this poor bodhisattva a hard time. I can't really imagine giving a bodhisattva a hard time, so I probably need to read chapter 20 of the Lotus Sutra to figure out what that was all about. Point being that when, never despising, paid respect to others and said that someday they could become Buddhas, they just ridiculed him. Then the Buddha goes on to explain to Seishi that these very arrogant people, I'm not saying they were very arrogant, I'm saying these arrogant people, did in fact reach enlightenment. They experienced the bad fruit of that karma, but now they are bodhisattvas present in the gathering that represents the Dharma talks of the Lotus Sutra. I always think of the Lotus Sutra as kind of like a big seminar. You know, they came, they gathered together, and then, like for weeks they must have listened to these Dharma talks. So the Buddha then praises the great energy of the Lotus Sutra, saying, "O Mahastama Pratpa, know that the sutra will deeply benefit the great bodhisattvas and lead them to highest complete enlightenment. For this reason, after this Buddha's final and complete nirvana, you should always preserve, copy, recite, explain, and teach this sutra." The Buddha's wise advice to Seishi. Seishi was also important to Shinran Shonin, the founder of our lineage. His teacher Honen, Honen's name, so it's interesting, but in those days in Japan, often, and particularly priests, would get new names at different times in their life. This makes it quite difficult for historians to figure out who was who. But Honen's name as a boy was Seishi Maru. Then in Honen's life as a teacher, he was full of knowledge and this Dharma willpower. And that's what Honen actually means. It's kind of knowledge and willpower is Honen. After Honen's death, Shinran wrote a poem, the Dai Seishi Bosa Wasan, where he said that Seishi Bodhisattva was Honen's Honji, his substance. The substance of Honen was Seishi. That's the way Shinran thought of his teacher. I think of my teacher, Daigon Matsunaga, as compassion. That's the way I think of him. Anyway, so in the Wasan, Shinran writes, Genku himself said, "Formerly, I was among the assembly on Vulture Peak. I practiced austerities with the Shravakas and guided beings to the Buddhist path. So Shinran recognized that his teacher Honen had been part of Buddhism for many, many lifetimes. Also, and this is a little convoluted, so please pay attention. In a letter to her daughter, Aishini, Shinran's wife, recounted a dream that Shinran told her about in the early days of their marriage. And it's a special dream. Shinran saw a bright Buddha full of light, but it had no face in the dream. So he asked, "Who is this Buddha?" And he heard a voice answering, "That is Seishi Bodhisattva. You know him as Honen," said the voice. So that was one of Shinran's many important dreams. So Seishi embodies the power of the Buddha's wisdom. Seishi liberates in us this energy that we have when we pursue the Dharma. Some people like to translate it as willpower. That works pretty well. Have you heard the word virya to mean, it's the sixth fold of the eightfold path. So when in the Buddhism class that we're going to start next Saturday, we'll talk about all the different folds of the eightfold path. The Dharma wheel, there used to be one here, but there isn't one here. On the podium, it has 8 spokes, and those are the important elements of Buddhism, 8 important limbs of the Dharma path. So anyway, virya is number 6. Vira means hero in Pali. So that heroic energy to act, that is what Seishi Bodhisattva liberates in us. You know, a hero makes an effort and changes the world. We can personally apply that liberated energy of body and mind to do wholesome actions. Following the eightfold path does take energy. The wisdom energy initiates and supports all wholesome forms of consciousness. We experience energy as perseverance, keeping on, working toward a goal. Now, I've noticed that we're in this sort of end stage of the pandemic, and it seems kind of weird. As we slowly normalize, we find that many people have found a lower energy state during the suppressed time of COVID. They don't go out much, and they don't think seeing other people is very important anymore. But it is. We kind of experienced that at Moon Rabbit Cafe last weekend. Being together and seeing each other is actually vital. It has vitality. It's kind of what life is about. It gives us life to interact this way. Coming to the temple and participating is a habit we have to renew. We have to re-energize it. After an entire year of suppressing that and being held back. Most of all, we come together and we experience that energy that is Seishi. He shares his energies with us. He charges forward energetically and shares it with everyone. When we gather together, we share our energy with each other. Now, we may not feel like we need it. I'm not sure if I'm talking to the people who are here or the people who are watching on streaming or the people who've given up even participating with the temple in any way over the last year. I'm probably talking to myself. That's the nature of Dharma talks. They're kind of self-reflective experiences that then we inflict on everyone else. One of my teachers described it that way. So even if we don't feel like we need it, maybe the other person does. Maybe they need to feel our energy in their life. So we have to gather together to share that. So Now, I know it takes virya to come to the temple. We have to liberate that energy to take refuge, to come to the altar. It takes energy. We have to actively energize our mind to experience gratitude. Gratitude for the Buddha and all the wonderful things that the Buddha has brought to the world. I was speaking with some friends who run another church last week, and we came around to this topic of how do we get people to come back? Now, some measure of kind of complacency has filtered into all of us. It's just natural. A year of being held back will do that. Each of us needs to energize our mind and motivate our feet to participate in things. So I told my friends with the other church that we have a bodhisattva for that. It's Seishi. So a wholesome consciousness contains energy or expresses energy. Energy arising sympathetically with the enlightened qualities of the Buddha. The presence of Amida Buddha in the universe is a great source of wholesome energy, and that makes our little efforts possible. Tariki is what we call other power, and it is the moving force toward a joyful life, a transformational spiritual energy in the universe. Seishi is integral to our release and application of this energy. Other power is beyond our selfish self, and at the same time, it is powerful, heroic energy deep inside us. Our effort toward spiritual growth is the internal experience of other power. When you take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, there arises in our mind bright, glad-minded consciousness. Beautiful mental qualities come up. The power of wisdom dominates in our mind in those moments. It is the power of Seishi. And with this brightness, unwholesome mind states are canceled out. That is how Seishi propels us to wholesome action. He wipes away unskillful junk in our minds and catapults our skillful actions or thoughts. We all have manifestations of Seishi in us, in our lives, and we have been the embodiment of Seishi many times. What is important when we come together at the temple is to share in that warm glow, in that energy, that willpower that stands at the right hand of Amida Buddha. Well, let's finish, and we can say this interactively, so I'll say it, and then it's not really call and response, but I'll lead. We will wish well to all beings. Please make gasho. May you be happy. May you be free from harm. May you receive boundless compassion. May peace and harmony fill your heart. Namanda, 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 namanda. Thank you. We usually finish by singing our Reno Buddhist Center theme song. We're still under some level of restriction, so if you hum along and quietly sing it in your mask, that's okay. Otherwise, sing in your mind as loud as you like. Masako will play the song for us.
Away, away, come away with me, where the grass grows wild and the winds blow free. Away, away, come away with me, and I'll build you a home in the meadow. Come, come, there's a wondrous land for the hopeful heart and the willing hand. Come, build you a home in the meadow. The stars, oh how bright and far, on a world of pure and eternal love. The stars, oh how bright they'll shine, on the home we will build in the meadow. Come, come, there's a wondrous land for the hopeful heart and the willing hand. Come, there's a wondrous land where I'll build you a home in the meadow.
So no service in a temple is complete without some announcements. So the bookends of all church services, a welcome and announcements. I once went to a church where they decided it would be good to have announcements at the beginning. It was not as fun as having dessert before dinner, I can tell you that. Because you get so, I would point your attention to some written announcements in the order of service. Our regular weekly things are all there. Most important of all, we will have tea and treats downstairs in Haroma Hall. So please keep your mask on, unless, of course, you're eating or drinking actively. But you can chat with other people and share the energy, that wisdom energy that Seishi brings out in us with others. We will have newcomers circle in this room. So if you're new and you have any questions, or if you've been here a long time and this whole Seishi thing seems like, whoa, where did that curveball come from? Please, after you get a cup of tea, come here and we'll circle some chairs and we can talk. And the most important one, however, is that we'll have Shin Buddhism class. It will be via Zoom, starting on May 8th, next Saturday, and the 15th and the 22nd and the 29th will be the announcements right there in the order of service with a picture of Shinran, so you can't miss it. So please sign up for that class. Thank you all so much. Namanda, namanda, namanda. I feel as though we can leave the temple in an orderly fashion and it will be fine.